Hello and welcome to TechHub.training Financial Formatting Challenge Solution. Today I'm going to teach you how to manipulate Word documents in Python. We're going to be using docx, so you're going to need to install that. Just do pip install python docx, and then you can import docx so that you can use all the functions and methods in that library. Great. So step 1, you just define variables. Well, steps 1 through 10 are basically defining variables. The first variable I did was a dictionary. I put all the asset accounts in a dictionary called assets, all the liability accounts in a dictionary called liabilities, and all the equity accounts in a dictionary called equity. Very, very creative. And then I made a variable called total assets, which is the sum of all the values in the asset dictionary. So this just adds everything up in here. And it's the same for step 3 and 4. I just did it with liabilities and equity. And then step 5, I added liabilities and equity and put it into a variable called total liabilities equity. So not super creative, but I'm just making variables so that if things change in this dictionary, like if my boss is like, oh, we bought $2,000 worth more of equipment, it updates all the variables and it'll be reflected in the formatted document we're going to make. And then I did the exact same thing for last year. Made 3 dictionaries, made variables that are the totals of those, and then I made a total that's equal to the liabilities and equity. Sweet. And so in step 11, this is the first thing you want to do when you're working with docx. You want to make a document, and the way to do that is this way. Doc equals docx.document parentheses. And what this does is it makes a Word document that you can manipulate. That's basically all it does. And in that document, I want to make a table. So in step 12, I do this code, table equals doc.add table, and then I give it 1 row and 3 columns, and I did it in a table grid style. And all that does is add a blank table. I can show you what it does, actually. So if we run this, and then we open up the document, it'll save in a local file. So, so this is what the code does so far. Just makes a blank table like that. And then what I do is I specify in the first cell, I want the word balance sheet. In the second cell, I want this date. In the third cell, I want that date. And so I can show you how that would look like if we just do that code. See, I did exactly what I told it to do. And that's the only part of this code where I actually specify the exact row and column that I wanted in. Other than that, I just do the add row method. And what that does is it adds a row directly beneath the rows I already have. So I add a blank row of cells underneath this, and then I add 2 blank cells and 1 cell containing the word assets there. And then this is where things get funky. I needed to make an adaptable code, so I did a for loop. And what this does is it gets the account and the balance from the dictionary assets and formats them the way I want them to. So if we go line by line, it says in the new row of table.add row cell, so this adds a new row. In the new row, in the 0 column, so the first column, put the account of each item in the assets dictionary. So if we go to the assets dictionary for cash, this is the first item. So it's going to put cash in that first row. And then I say in the next column, I want the balance of the asset dictionary. So the balance would be the value associated with the key cash. So it'll put the 1,000 there. And I want it formatted with a $sign and with 2 decimals, is basically what that's saying. And then in the next column, so in the third column, I want you to look at the assets of last year and take that same account, so the cash account in this case, and get the value associated with that one and format it with 2 decimals and a $sign. And if there is nothing in the asset of last year, put this. So yeah, this is super flexible. I can just kind of go through some examples with you. Let me just do. So if we make this, we run it, we open it up, and it gets each account in the asset dictionary and puts the value of this year in the second column and last year in the third column. And so if my boss is like, hey, actually this year we're going to add supplies, and it'll be $300 of supplies, that can happen. Oh, I need a comma. And then our document will be updated. So we have $300, and since there was nothing last year for supplies, we have a little dash there. It looks so good. Yeah, pretty simple. That's what this it looks challenging, but it's just a for loop. That's all it is. So nothing to be afraid of. And that's what it's doing. It's just going through each dictionary and putting in the values there. And yeah, that's probably the most complicated part of this code. After that, it's just more formatting. I add a row, I put total assets, and I put the total asset variable I made above, and the total asset variable last year I made above. And then a blank row, and then a row that just says liabilities and equity. And then I do the same thing I did for assets with liabilities and equity. So that way this code can be adaptable. That way my boss can go in and change things, add more information, take away information. And then, yeah, I just have a final row of total liabilities and equities, put in the variables I made, and then save it. Doc.save. And this is the name of the doc. You can also put a file path here if you want it to be saved in a specific file, but I just put it in the local file. So even if you delete this, go ahead and get rid of that. You can always rerun this code, and it'll pop right back up. Ta-da! And you have a perfectly good balance sheet. Your boss is very impressed, and you'll probably get a promotion. So, good job. Thank you for listening to this challenge, and I hope it was challenging and you learned how to use DocX.